Yeah,
Hello, everybody,
I got
and
it.
welcome to episode 87 of Shattered Earth. Today, we're doing a side quest that turned into something bigger. Last time, you guys had a conversation with the Pharaoh of Shijie, Pharaoh Bodrati of Shijie, regarding who your group is in the greater world at large. Having finally completed the chapter of your story that has led you to the biggest city in the desert, and having finally reclaimed your damselfly ship, newly constructed and piloted by Esmeralda, Lemuel's mother, to your location, your camp in the desert, before setting off toward Oakham in the Forest of Lost. So, travel time, as we just determined, is going to take basically 6 days. 6 days by airship. Normally be 18 days on foot, so you're cutting that down by a pretty significant margin. Is there anything anyone wants to do over those 6 days? Other than the list of legend lore topics I'm getting.
Attune to magic weapon thingy, if I haven't done that already.
Got it. What are you?
Neutral good.
Double check the item because I know it has to choose you.
I'll open up to anyone else. Anyone else got suggestions for legend lores? I got two left if the 6 day thing is correct.
Let's see. Well, you know, it might not hurt. So, but legendary significance. That's a good point, though, because
I figured secret societies constitute legendary, even if they're not well known, because legend lore specifically says it sometimes calls up stuff for lost information, and we already have fairly detailed information about. Yeah, we have fairly detailed information about the Black Circle as it stands. So I figured any information we got off the legend lore for them would be probably of more significance than we anticipate.
That's a very good point.
So we're not going to do a kamikaze run at the Dragon with the new ship. Got it.
I don't know. You might have missed this, but this was above game. It was stated that that is beyond the scope of this campaign.
That was an excellent way to end up delicious.
No. I knew that, but we never said it when we were talking about it while we recording. That's why I brought it up.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
No, I missed the last 2 minutes because I was dealing with something in the background. I was at the same time Googling what the weapon did that I gave you, and also that the plumber needs to come fix my sink tomorrow. So what were we doing? Just doing legend lore topics? Is that what we're still on?
Yeah. I
think so.
I was asking everyone if they had any suggestions.
One on Forest of Lost. One on Knights of the Black Circle would be something to try to find out something about.
Yeah, Goldagnir. The more we know a fair bit about Goldagnir, but there's some questions still up in the air. So I figured maybe getting some that would be nice. The Eternal Order. The Eternal Order are
too much.
The Eternal Order are ostensibly our allies, but there's also still a lot of information we don't know about them.
Yeah, of the two, I would actually prioritize Black Circle over Eternal Order. I'm just saying.
I mean, okay. Hey, I got most of I got the spelling right. I just didn't have the hyphen. I'm proud of myself.
I'm just
yeah. Yeah.
For your own notes.
Yeah,
it's high
yeah, I would. I mean, for my
But,
suggestion, I'd weigh in on the ones trying to kill us over the ones that so far have really not tried to do that, as far as I know.
I feel the need to point out I get 6 casts of these before we arrive at our destination.
Yeah. Oh.
Because it's once per day. It's gonna take us 6 days to get there.
Okay, so 2 more in addition to those. Okay, gosh. Just trying to think what would be
Oh, I know exactly what one of them should be.
Okay.
The Grimoire Infinitus.
Oh my, yes. That is, yeah. That would be extremely good to find out something about. And
Because like we know one of them, one of the knights is really interested in that particular fucking artifact.
yeah, that's a good point. Would there be a specific member of the Black Circle that we would especially want to focus on learning something about? Like,
well, the problem is legendary individual. Like, I'm a bit worried that with the members of the Black Circle, they may not technically be the individual members may not be legendary enough in their own right.
They tend to keep a low profile. Let's see who would be a good.
They're kind of like they're kind of like as a group legendary, and they're writing their legend currently. So the other thing also is there's nothing in that item that says that you can cast it without expending material components. It just gives you access to the spell.
Oh.
So you still you can ignore the ivory strips portion of it. It doesn't say anything about it. It's part of it.
Incense, yeah.
I'm gonna double check that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and I don't see anything about like it says that you can ignore things. It just says that you can.
Yeah, incense worth.
Spells.
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Give it to you if it doesn't consume, but if it's a consumable item that you need to cast the spell.
Yeah. Well, this is going to sound kind of silly, but is there just as a maybe I don't know if it's that's not really legendary. Right?
Check the DMG page 141.
Like the 2014, you mean?
Yeah, because I just found a bit from that. It says the spell is if this on magic items and casting spells from them. The spell is cast at the lowest possible spell level, doesn't expend any of the user's spell slots, and requires no components unless the item's description says otherwise. So if it's a magic item that is granting me that cast, I don't have to pay for it. If I'm interpreting this right.
What was the page again?
141.
What's the section?
I don't have the DMG pull up. I just found it. I googled the question and that's one of the answers. That's the thing that came up.
Let's see. DMG.
It should. Okay, it says in the spells section from what this one here says here. Yes. Activate. Chapter 14, magic items. If this is the right one.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just took. Yep, here it is. I pulled up the D&D Beyond page, so yeah, right there. Oop. Now we just pull up the Dragon Touch Focus.
Yeah, my initial reaction is because usually on an item it says you can cast the spells without the need to have the material.
Right. Because it is a Wakened Focus, it says right here, Wakened Focus is slumbering storing properties, and while you are holding a Wakened Focus, you can use it to cast certain spells. Once the item is used to cast a given spell, it can't be used to cast a spell again until the next dawn. Spells are determined by the family of the dragon whose horde it became wakened. It does not give a material cost or any of that.
Correct, yes. What I'm saying is normally in that description where it says you can cast certain spells, it will say you can cast certain spells without the need to expend any material or without the need for material components. Usually that's a bit of text that's in there. Could be ignored just because of the section.
It could be a situation where the DMG is actually the general rule, where you have to pay for it is actually the specific that overrides the general.
Yeah, it's like normally whenever you do like any of these spells, especially higher level ones, it's like if you get the fucking spell, it'll usually say without needing any of its material components is usually the text that it says.
Which is actually kind of weird if this DMG bit is here, because then that means that's a clarification doesn't need to be in it exists because it's the spell section and the G says it
right.
Already.
There's also other distinctions that say you don't need material components if you have a focus. Except for if those materials have a gold cost.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why those are in there, because I don't think a normal player probably not have to worry about the DMG. That'd be the DM's job.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the text that's available for a player to look at, it's the text that says you have to use material components unless you have a focus or unless the thing has a gold cost. And then every other bit of item thing that says you can cast this spell without the need for its material components.
Yeah.
So in that regard, especially considering Legend lore.
I would point out that the item that I'm using is a very rare,
No, I know. But, at the same time, it's like there's a limit on Legend lore for a reason. There's a money limit on it for a reason. And we haven't been running it that way up until now. It is a very rare item. And I don't see a reason why they would force you to. It's weird that that's the thing. Maybe there's something better but in the new DMG about it. But it's taking up too much time right now, so we'll roll with it's free for now until I determine otherwise.
That's fine.
I'll Google it later.
Yeah.
Okay, so pick one.
When I was your age, we had to look it up in the book. We didn't had no fancy Google.
Correct. What do you mean? Can you repeat the question, VG?
What's your first topic?
Forest of the Lost, that's the most pressing.
Forest of the Lost.
Hmm.
The Forest of the Lost isn't really legendary enough for the spell. I don't think. It's just a place that exists that has quirks about it, but it's not like oh this is where you go to find the lost sword of Trofralagon or whatever. You know, it's just like it's a forest that does weird shit. It's basically which you guys already know about.
All right. Well, it's understandable. Nah, I wouldn't even consider that a waste of a cast. That's the lack of information is information itself, because that means that there's that it's not like some super ancient fuck you forest.
Yeah, this thing is not. It's not a basically nothing on this planet is more than 1,000 years old. There's very few things that are over 1,000 years old on this planet that existed in legend, as it were. Most of the stuff that's here is like it's because of the breaking that most of this shit happened. The breaking would be the legendary event that's the catalyst for a lot of weird shit that happens on the planet.
And just because, the legendary lore doesn't work on it, doesn't mean there isn't plenty of shit over there in the forest in there that's not gonna fuck us up.
Yeah. It just means that there might not be, like, tales and legends about that place. It's just, it's very old, but it doesn't mean that it's overall, an important area. It's not a super important area. Not
It doesn't.
Goldagnir, a place of legend where magical prisoners are kept and all that.
It doesn't have a history of like entire armies never to be seen again.
Yeah, and that goes.
Hang on a sec. We do have a
Squall's Kiadi's Crown, all that.
We do have something to use legendary lore on.
We have a few things.
Well, yes. Let me put on one other one to the pile up the list. Wardens.
Oh. Good point.
Is that your next topic? Is that day 2's topic?
I don't hear a no. I vote yes.
I didn't hear
if for no other reason.
I vote yes.
And have wardens on the chat.
No, I know, I understand, but there's a running list going. I was wondering if that's what we're actually.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, given that we recently read a message from them during a pretty dangerous encounter, yeah, I'd like to know more about these people who were involved in some pretty serious, powerful, magical stuff.
Yeah, the ones that were the wardens of the ancient prison Goldagnir.
Yeah. Be good to know something about the holders of the keys, as it were, or, well, maybe not those keys, but you know what I mean. Or maybe so, I don't know. The ones in charge of the prison, though.
Okay. So, part of the spell is the more information you already have about the thing, the more precise and detailed the information you receive is.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I'll do is this: I'll give you flashes of same thing as before with Kiadi. You're going to get flashes of memory, but they're not going to nearly be as vague. These visions last for a longer period of time, and there's far more context to them than gotten from other castings of the spell. Just because you are aware of so much about the Wardens and what you know about the Shepherds as well, because they're the same people. Their story begins with what's his face? I can't forget his name. Let me go grab your lore page so I can make sure I get all this right. Rayless Quayland is the kind of like the figurehead of the Wardens. He's the one that put the team together. He's the Tony Stark. He's, he was an ambitious young elf who sought to do justice in a world where justice was unattainable in many regards for people who held a great deal of magical power. It's a time in the world's history where if you were powerful enough with magic, you could get away with a lot. And there was nobody to hold them accountable for it. On top of that, there were also not a lot of ways or not a lot of people willing to police the greater dangers of the world in terms of, big world-shattering or, continent-shattering, country-shattering threats, such as big evil dragons or krakens or any type of crazy monster that eventually might come across in their later levels. So what you get is flashes of Rayless Quayland meeting and essentially recruiting the other members of the Wardens. And you can see with this more precise information that you're being fed, you can see not just four indistinct figures, flashes of them doing wizard shit. You see like conversations between the Wardens. You see their faces, what they look like. Rayless Quayland is a paler skinned elf, usually dressed in bright red robes with gold. He has long, like platinum blonde hair that goes down to about his mid-back. And you can see him talking to the other Wardens. Aelduin is also a blonde elf, but blue in skin. You can see him when he goes to talk to her. He is addressing her in a throne room, surrounded by her subjects at the bottom of the ocean. The ocean of which now you have context. When he goes to meet Cerny Golode was extremely knowledgeable about the natural world and just the nitty-gritty of how nature worked in a pre-breaking world. He met her along an expedition she was conducting to research a very specific and rare type of animal in a jungle somewhere. You see her, she's darker skin, curly hair, big round spectacles, dressed in traveler's clothes, currently at some sort of base camp by herself with several small cages of little weird animals that she's captured in the jungle. And they're talking about, your talents, your pragmatism is much needed part of the world, so to join. And then the final member, Luth Fulfan, the nomad, essentially, was kind of a private individual. Physically, he was elven, yet again, dark of skin, dark of hair, face often often covered by a heavy like head wrap that would go into kind of like a turban thing with a face wrap over it. Dressed in traveler's clothes, dressed very lightly. You can see him. He carried a blade. He didn't carry a staff as the other ones did. The other ones, are decked out in generalized wizard gear, staffs and wands and robes and all that. He was dressed more like what you would expect a rogue to be dressed like. Someone meant for a light combat or scouting role. But you watch in these visions as he performs immense feats of magic, and does them almost effortlessly as he's like dancing between enemies, and slicing down demons, and whatever else the wardens got up to during their tenure. You see the group growing in power. They formed initially when they were all much younger, and over many years, decades, maybe even a century or two. It's hard to tell with elves because they don't quite age as visibly as much as everyone else. You watch them become the most powerful wizards on the planet, and when they established the wardens, you got a lot of people not taking them seriously until their actions spread, their deeds, and the goings-on of their order. One of which very important events that you'll get is there were massive elementals that would wreak havoc over the land if left unchecked, and the wardens were the ones that imprisoned them. The first prisoners of Guldagnir were massive elemental creatures stored in gigantic gemstones. Then there came others, magical criminals, people who had gotten their hands on power that they wielded selfishly or with the intent to harm others. You see, flashes of faces of elderly necromancers and angry archdruids and sneaky illusionists attempting and failing time and time again to evade the wardens. All of them eventually ending up locked inside of this magical prison, this extra-dimensional space. The wardens took it upon themselves to put them there, and the rest of the world generally agreed with them, though they weren't by any means a perfect society. There was a lot of conflict surrounding the wardens, and you can see, arguments being held between the wardens themselves and what their mission is, and who you assume to be heads of state at the times that came into conflict with them because the wardens had no loyalty except for to themselves and to the people of the realms that they traveled throughout. Some dignitaries didn't see it that way. They didn't have the same view of their actions as the rest of everyone else, and they would often come into conflict with nobility when the nobility was the one who were hiring the people that needed to be in prison. The last set of visions you get throughout this casting of the spell is the wardens learning of the actions of a group that sought to destroy the world, and by the time they sprung into action, like they always had, was too little, too late. The cult of devastation, as it was called, was already too far into their plans for the Wardens to stop. And by the time anyone figured it out, the oracles had already been warned. The construction of the arcs had already begun, and the Wardens, though they desperately tried to avoid fate, eventually had to yield. Their greatest failure being that they couldn't foresee this terrible calamity that broke the planet into gigantic shards of rock. The other massive argument that the Wardens had amongst themselves was, what do we do with Goldagdir? We are the only keepers of it, but should we even allow them to have this power? What happens to these prisoners when they don't have a world to be released back into? Some of them, their sentences are going to be up. We have to be able to release them, etc., etc. And more important issues took precedence at that time. They had to abandon their posts, essentially, to ensure the survival of the citizens of Rhea. And they essentially said, well, the lives of the prisoners we've accumulated is not as much as the lives of thousands of people that we can save if we contribute to the exodus of Rhea and the establishment of colonies on the moon. It was their greatest regret that they came to essentially abandon their responsibility, forsake it for a new one, and morally a very gray area, but the times were, extraordinary and extraordinarily bad, and tough choices had to be made. You see the final flashes of each of their demise. Raelus Quayland, he was the first one to die. It took him about it took him about 500 years to die. He lasted about 500 years after the breaking, before succumbing to old age. Ealdwin died soon after of a broken heart. Cerny Galode also died soon after, but there's a you know yourself know the legend of like the giant tree on the moon that provides oxygen for the people that live there. That giant tree is said to be a continuation of her spirit, and that's what a lot of the druids that live there believe. And then Luth Fulfan fucking disappeared. No one knows where he is. No one found his body. No one knows what happened to him. They presume he's dead because it's been 1,000 years, but nobody knows what happened to that guy. He's just gone. And with that, your vision would come to an end.
I said it in the chat, but I'm gonna say it here again. Motherfucker, you made Harper's.
I made 4 Harpers, I guess. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to Forgotten Realms.
Harper's, the organization, not the...
No, I know. I'm not familiar. I'm not as familiar with the Harpers as maybe you are. They are. They're a group of like chaotic good people.
I wouldn't say good. I'd say neutral.
Yeah, I mean, the Wardens are more close to neutral too. They're probably I would say a lawful neutral stanced group, but they were the most powerful wizards of their time, and a lot of people. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of oversight for what they're doing. A lot of people just kind of rolled with the Wardens and let them do what they were doing because no one could stop them, which is dangerous if they didn't have the world's best interest at heart. which is a lot of what those arguments were between them and nobility and people. A lot of people initially were mistrusting, and there was good reason for that because they hadn't built up a repertoire. But once their repertoire was built up, and once enough magical calamities were resolved, that assuaged itself. And they were in power for several hundred years. They, with the power that they wielded, they probably could have forged their own nation. One of them was a queen already, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. But they never did, and that's one of the reasons why people ended up trusting them, is because they never tried to seize power for themselves. They always relied on their own power and their own mission statement, as it were, and didn't deviate from that. They never broke trust.
Ooh.
Yeah. And of course, now they have two names. So that's what you get for the Wardens.
Wow.
What do you want for your next topic? Just going down the list or going up the list?
Well, I guess
Yeah, do we want to go for Knights next?
Knights of the Black Circle. I mean, yeah, it's good to know. It's good to know your enemy.
So, the Knights of the Black Circle are not legendary yet. So you're not going to get any information on the spell.
Makes sense. Okay.
They're not a group that has popped up throughout history. They're the current one that exists.
I'm curious about the Grimoire Infinitus.
Yeah, that's
Before you ask about the Grimoire, can I make a suggestion?
Go for it.
The quote they're saying, that gotta mean something.
What is
I
Knights of the Tenth?
Yeah.
That one.
I understand that, the group may itself not be, old enough for legendary lore, but that saying is still is screaming at me. It means something.
maybe somebody else has said it at some point. Maybe it's older than them.
There is another name I kind of want to ask about. Malachor.
Malachor
Also-
5 was a battle of the...
Malachor, also referred to as the Dark One. At least in my notes. Do we want to go for that one, or do we want to try and ask about your
You
quote?
got 4 more, so
I'd say that would be a worthy choice. Yeah.
Alrighty then. Next cast is naming Malachor.
okay. You do not know.
Also, I feel I need to ask a question that may actually be relevant. Do these spells count as scrying? So, like, if the thing I'm asking about is still alive, would they have a chance of knowing that they're being that they're being lured on?
No, this is specifically with regards to the past. It's the legend of a thing. So anything that's currently happening with regards to stuff that's going on, you would get no information about. You would only get the stories about it.
Right.
So, with regards to Malachor, you do not have a lot of information on this person. So you're gonna get like mini flashes of contextless visions. The first one that you get is of a dark-haired, pale-skinned mortal man sitting on a throne of skulls in a black castle atop a mountain, ruling over a vast quantity of land and a vast number of people with an iron fist. You see flashes of his army, his banner, his men, devastating countrysides, villages, and cities. You see him silhouetted by fire and smoke and death. Until the vision changes and you see him now gray of hair, dying of old age in his personal chambers in the same castle. The tyrant's death, after the tyrant's death, his lieutenants scattering to the four winds and his tyrannical rule, the kingdom that he created, shattering and falling to ruin and then being remade as other things throughout time. You see, as his soul leaves his body, you see hands, decrepit, red-skinned, gnarly-fingered hands, grabbing it and dragging it down into the pits of hell. You see his soul transformed and reborn as the lowest of the low, basic level imp demon garbage, crawling out of the river Styx in what you can assume to be the first layer of the Night Hells. You see him, his form over time changing, evolving as he adapts to this new existence. He's been transformed into this devil creature, and devils respect power above all else. So he gains that power in any way that he can. Subterfuge, murder, straight up espionage, betrayal, backstabbing, cutting deals, dragging mortals down with him. You see the first time that he's able to contact the mortal plane of his own volition after centuries of torment and combat and just the worst existence anyone could ever imagine. And seeing how easily it still was to manipulate mortal men to his side. After that, his power just grows exponentially. You see him forming his own cult around himself. Now as a prominent general in Zariel's army. You see him reaching out and plucking specific individuals that he can trust to be discreet about his goals. You see the forming of the cult of devastation. You see the years, the decades of planning that goes into orchestrating an event like the breaking. You see it come to fruition, and you see that though he appeared to have been thwarted, all of this was his plan all along. Because this plan doesn't include destroying the world. The plan includes making the world his own once again. You see him tricking even the arch-devil of Avernus herself. You see that her sacrifice left a power vacuum just big enough for Malachor to seize it. And then your vision ends.
And if I remember right, the ancestor that I had pulled Moyle from was Malachor, if I remember right.
Mm-hmm. You had assumed it was Zariel because of the Avernus connection. But your ancestor is the current ruler of Avernus, not the previous.
Extra cool.
Hmm.
Hey, you
Ooh.
got connections.
Yeah. Big name. Well, this may be a little bit less like massively legendarily significant, but power vacuum, that's got me thinking. It was a while back, maybe not super long, the time of the world, but we ganged up on and killed one of the Clouded Kings. And they're a pretty well-known group. But when that tends to happen, again, power vacuum, would it be a worthy casting of it to see if maybe Bullfrog had a notable rival who might be likeliest to step in if she was to be, I don't know, killed by a bunch of adventurers or something? Like, would there be another likely name to watch out for as somebody who might take over her turf, for lack of a better word?
Well, you already know that.
Oh, okay. Well then, never mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know who the enforcer of the Cloud Kings is.
Oh, okay. So Rhea would be likeliest to take over her kind of.
When you cross the Clouded Kings, the
Empire.
That's
Yeah.
the saying.
That much we know.
You're
Yeah, okay.
You're treading on the Reaper's ground, essentially at that point.
Fair enough.
And you've killed.
That's
your
good
group,
enough.
Your Scholars March group has killed 2 of them.
Oh, wait. Who was the other one?
Polo.
I think that
Polo
was before.
McCoon.
I think that was before my time.
It was before your
Whoa.
time, but this was the group that killed it. So
Wow.
the Scholars March.
Okay.
If you didn't think you were on their radar before, you've taken out 2 of their number. You're lucky you keep changing
Okay,
ships
then.
every single time you go out over the open sea.
No joke. Okay then. Yeah. So no need to use a casting on that, but okay.
Would anyone mind if I asked about the book?
Yes, please. Grimoire Infinitus. Have at it.
I'll also give you the context of the Clouded Kings are in the context of all of history. They're a blip. They've only been around for like 20 years.
Yeah. To be fair, if the Knights of the in fairness, if the Knights of the Black Circle don't have a spot, it makes sense they wouldn't.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yikes.
Not unless their legend extends into the future.
Wow. So, does this mean we're technically 2 kinds of wanted or 3?
So many.
I'm starting to lose track.
What I give it to them?
There's literally.
It's funny because like the Clouded Kings think themselves that are like all shit, but you guys have way bigger fish to fry at this point in the game. So
Yeah.
I'm just picturing one of them again, and we're just like, bro, who are you?
yeah, it's literally that. I've sworn revenge. Who the fuck are you again?
Huh?
You took everything from me. I don't even know who the fuck you are. I'm busy trying to dethrone an archdevil.
Basically, yeah. You guys are living rent free in their heads for the last year.
You took away everything, your family, my fortune, my crew. It's like, do you know how much that narrows it down?
We have killed thousands.
It's like your boat was cool and it gave me $30,000 when I sold it. So thanks for that, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, the grimoire.
Yes.
Oh fuck! Damn it! Sorry. Fucking. I had a half full glass of water that I didn't realize was half full, and I just poured a bunch of tea into it, so now it's gonna be a stream of water down tea.
Unfortunately.
Or slightly spicy water.
Slightly spicy water.
It's better than that time I did that with Mountain Dew. Anyway, the Grimoire Infinitus is a relic that is far older than Breaking. And with the casting of legend lore, you get very, very little information. This thing is... the only thing that you know about it is its name currently. And the only thing that the legend reveals about the book in general is that it has been at the side of every powerful archmage throughout all of history.
So no distinction particularly between good, bad,
No.
other.
It is a collection of knowledge and a representation of the power of said knowledge, and it has been wielded to great effect by those who would seize that power and enact change on the world, be good or bad. The Wardens used it to develop spells that would allow them to sustain their operations, such as the creation of Goldagnir in the first place, and the spells that allow them to capture people and keep them there for long periods of time, as well as several infamous spells throughout history have been developed using the Grimoire, and have been were first written in the Grimoire itself and passed down through it. It's like the ultimate wizard's primer. It's the book of knowledge. The pages of that thing contain quantities of lore that span tens of thousands of years.
Well then,
I think is that 3? I don't know.
It's 3.
Okay. I'm just trying to think for.
It's you guys have done 2. You guys have done 2 successfully and 1 unsuccessfully so far.
Oh yeah. So. All right. I mean, it does seem like the Eternal Order might not be a poor choice. They are. I mean, it's right there in the name. There's got to be something.
Like, they're a secret society. Like, they keep themselves secret, but they are like known. But they are like a thing throughout time. Like, they're definitely old enough.
Yeah. If age even. Yeah. They're. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's. The Eternal Order, then, is 1.
Okay. When it comes to the Eternal Order, this is a weird casting the spell. You're getting less visions and more a mural that is kind of cemented in your mind that represents the Eternal Order. And the mural starts in just like hyper-focused on one small portion of it. The mural in your head is this like stone rectangular slab that goes from left to right, spanning in eternity in either direction. The bottom layer along the very the very edge of it on the bottom of the design is thousands and thousands of intricately carved individual people that at one point you can assume were part of the Eternal Order. You don't recognize any faces per se, but it is an order that spans, that spans basically all of time. All of time, all of recorded history and beyond, even before and after. And that spans
kind of like
multiple worlds as well.
There's always an Eternal Order. There will always be an Eternal Order.
Yeah, like among the rank and file, which is what you're kind of focused on in this vision. There's not only mortal humanoid races, but creatures and extraplanar beings that are also involved into the Eternal Order's affairs throughout their tenure throughout time. You can see, other sentient creatures, genies, dragons, a bunch of other stuff, and they're all considered the smallest rung of the ladder. The next layer up is a line of several sphinxes in a row, Razius being the one that is center focused. There are hundreds of sphinxes before him and hundreds of sphinxes after him, all wingtip to wingtip, sitting resolute and depicted as this above the rest of the rank and file, the leaders of the Eternal Order throughout time and history. And then above that, there's one depiction that is hidden in shadow that you don't see, but you know it's there. Something that is one singular carving that spans the rest of that timeline, but that is consistent throughout and unchanging.
So it seems our allies may be hiding a bit of a secret.
They may not know it themselves.
Or maybe you just haven't asked.
That actually... I actually have a question. Is it can someone say someone is a member of a legendary organization? Can they if they pick that organization for the spell? Do they get information about themselves? Yes, I already know this. This is me we're talking about here.
I mean, if you're a legendary figure, I don't see why you wouldn't, but you'd have to be a legendary figure. And that comes with deeds done, not necessarily power.
That's fair. It was a funny thought. Okay, cool. I'm in this legendary order, and I cast a spell to learn more about the order, and I come up okay, cool. I already know about me. I'm not asking about me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're picking the order specifically, you're gonna get information about the order. If you're picking yourself, you're gonna get information about yourself. It wouldn't be so laser focused as to select you.
That's fair. That was just a.
That's it.
Yeah. So how many do we still got?
That was 4. You got 2 more.
I could try and ask about Razia specifically, and maybe try and refine the information we get.
Or would there be anyone? I don't know. Would anyone in the royal family that's still existing count, or would we want to know about them? Just, I don't know.
Well, judging by like the casts that have failed,
Yeah, they might not be a big enough deal. So,
I'll be right back.
one thing I'm tempted to ask about, but I get the feeling may cause some problems if I do. I'm tempted to ask about a certain moon god.
Who? What? I am the huh?
You know, the black cat that's been the bad guy for in Shijay's entire culture.
Oh,
That guy.
him. Well, he is pretty legendary.
Because I've already felt like I feel like I feel like something like there's holes in that story that I can't ignore. I'm like, okay, I think there's something more to this.
Like kind of like a book that's missing a few chapters that make it make sense.
Yeah, like I could put that one on hold because it's not exactly relevant to our current.
Not. All right. Yeah, we wouldn't necessarily want to know about. Yeah, Oakham is probably too specific.
Did Razius tell us what we were looking for in the Forest of the Lost, or did he just say, go to the Forest of the Lost, you'll know when you see it?
I think I have the letter somewhere. He sent you a letter.
I think that's, yeah. I just can't remember what exactly. It might have been in the general or... Merp.
I did that one already. This is the other one.
Wasn't the...
Well, he gave you a letter. Let's see. Yeah, so you are specifically you're looking for a temple to Amarat, goddess of drifters, who has fallen into ruin, essentially, but that still holds historically relevant artifacts in it that he wants you to retrieve for his collection.
Let's see if it's. Could I ask about the Temple of Amarat? Is that like a valid target? You think that would be a good idea?
I mean, no. The temples, or unless there's a legendary building somewhere, but you would get more out of the spell by casting it on Amarat instead of a specific location.
Yeah.
You know, that might actually be a good idea. Just to know about
Like you could get
something about
gods.
Yeah, but the god to whom it's dedicated, that might give us some kind of clue for, things to watch out for, better ways to approach it. Because you already know God of Drifters, so that's somewhat helpful.
So are we agreed? I target for the last one. I target Amarat.
Okay.
If that's the 6th one, go for it. Yeah. I can't think of too much else. So.
All right, I target Amarat. For the last cast of our 6-day travel, I target Amarat, goddess of drifters, or god of drifters.
Excuse me. Do this first for me because we haven't established this. Roll a religion check to see how much you already know. Sure.
Wow.
So, what you already kind of know about how the religious pantheon has been steadily reforming over the last 1,000 years is there are domains that the gods hold claim over that, if vacated, are left up for grabs, and anyone with enough power can seize that domain and make it their own and essentially ascend to godhead. Certain gods are more powerful than others. Certain domains are more important than others. But the most powerful domains have the power behind them to affect change throughout the entire universe and multiverse. Amarat has probably one of the most humble beginnings of any god, and humble mortal existences that the gods have as part of their story of coming to power. Amarat was at one point a mortal woman who was just like a squire, a scout, like some low-ranking, not at all important nobody who just happened to be at the forefront of discovery after the dead century ended and gods began reappearing in the world. The depictions you're getting are still vague, but you're able to, through the spell, recognize the people you're supposed to be following. And the woman who was Amarat's mortal form, just so happened to be on the forefront of every major discovery that had ever happened after the dead century, once people began reemerging to the surface of Rhea from underground. After the breaking, people took shelter in the Underdark for 100 years. And then after the magic was turned back on, people were like, maybe something's changed, and they started sending expeditions to the surface to scout if it was still safer, if it was a barren wasteland and unlivable. And Amarat was part of the very first party of people. Not an important person, not the person who was helming it, but she was part of the first party that essentially rediscovered Rhea. It started in what would later become Onyx, that continental shard. Spread to all corners of it, and then as civilization began to regrow itself on the surface, and people started, feeling more secure, and that they could actually, form society again. The itch for discovery began to happen inevitably, and once again, she was part of the same party that would rediscover the other two continents. She was the first person to set foot on Metria. She was the first person to set foot on Earth. And over time, any important landmark or important biome, or especially distinct locale, any of the most famous rediscoveries, whoever Amaranth was part of that. And it came to the point when she was the first person to step on Arval, that she was by herself, and she had already amassed a great amount of mortal power. And she traveled to Arval by herself and discovered somewhere within the continent a means to seize a means to ascend and claim the domains that were left behind by previous deities. And the domains that called out to her the most were the ones that she would use to survive, mostly trickery. Hence why her domain is trickery. She became the goddess of drifters shortly after departing and discovering Arval for herself, which meant that she never returned to the other people to tell them that Arval existed, and Arval remained undiscovered by the larger world for the better part of several hundred years. But at the moment of her ascension, it's something that is so intrinsically world-shaking that everybody is aware of it happening intrinsically in the back of their minds. And very soon after, people start hearing her voice when they need her most. The Amarat doesn't have a lot of quote-unquote followers. She is a god of convenience for the most part. Hence, the god of drifters thing. Her followers are anyone who travels for a living, who bops around from place to place and doesn't have people who don't set down roots in very many places. So any adventurer ever is a patron of her religion, or at least anyone who prays for protection on the roads that they travel. And she watches over those who have the spark of adventure in their hearts.
It's good to know.
For context, this is something that you wouldn't get through the spell. From what you know from your fucking natural 20 religion check. Amarat's temples, for lack of a better word, are like places of refuge. They're places where people can rest after a day's travel, for the most part. Amarat's not one for like cathedrals or grand spires and temples, elaborate shrines. It's like Amarat's the one that you you grip your amulet and you look up at the sky and go, give me luck, wish me luck, and then you walk on the road forward. You're going to get maybe a roadside shrine, or you're going to get a place of rest. And you're not going to see very many clerics of Amarat wandering around, except for those who are just the very basic acolytes, the ones who run the roadside assistance places, people who own taverns along the road that give people sustenance and shelter after a long day's travel. Like, those are the people who are Amarat's most faithful, the people who have given up the adventure in order to help others. Not a god with a whole lot of power, but a god that is intrinsic to mortal society in a lot of ways, but all of them very subtle.
Subtle but far-reaching. Something.
usually not a one sole depiction of Amarat. It's in any artistic rendering of Amarat, it's always a person in a traveling cloak with a walking stick with their back towards you. It's like their face is unknowable because they're always on the path ahead. That's why what their religious symbol is a pair of footprints. Because you're always following their footprints.
I think that was 6.
So 5 or 6.
You
You did the Wardens, you did the book.
Wait.
You did the Black Circle, which you gave you. You did the Eternal Order, and you did Amarat. That's 5.
Oh.
You never did Goldak.
Well.
And you never did
Didn't we?
Kings.
Well, didn't we also do Force of Loss, which got nothing?
That's right. Yes, Force Loss. So
Yeah. So that was 6. Yeah.
So that's your 6 days. Lemmy's studying his book. That's fine. Anyone else have anything they're doing?
Chance would largely try and just jot down notes about the various things he learned through casting of his spells. The bit he learned about Malachor has him a little bit shaken. And keep in mind, and anything that Chance did learn from these Legend Lore casts, he would have told the group.
Sure. I assume everybody's on the same page. Okay. Jay, did you have anything that Valerian wants to do over the next 6 days?
I'm on a ship, so this is new exciting for me, so I'll be more acting like an excited dog.
Okay. Sure.
It's like, oh my god, what's that? How does this work? Oh my god.
I think eventually if you're just running around like an excited puppy, Esmeralda would probably put you to work doing something.
Yep.
She would give you little tasks to do on the ship, like go help this person, go help the cook.
One other thing I would probably make sure to share information on with the other members of the party over the course of the trip when I don't have my nose in the Infernal Dictionary is I would almost certainly share at least the basics on Esmeralda's magical abilities, that she's a very capable captain, but that she is not a wizard, more importantly a sorcerer, and beyond that she has the wild magic in her, so that anyone who is familiar with that concept should maybe tread with caution when she starts getting into much in the way of throwing spells around, because she's got a lot of power, maybe not always the greatest amount of control. So I think I will do my best to impress that on any other member of the party who's familiar with spells at all, and which I think is pretty much everyone to some degree. So, well, maybe not so much Selra, but I would probably try to maybe take a little extra time to explain to her sort of the underpinnings of how when magic's involved, anything can happen, but when wild magic is involved, anything can happen. So, yeah.
Anything can happen unintentionally.
Yeah, extra anything. So, yep. I think that's the most important thing to get across, that it's probably best if she's owning the ship rather than doing a bunch of magic. I'm not saying it's always bad, but not saying it's always good.
So, throughout your week-long flight, as it were, up the middle of Araval, the terrain changes fairly drastically and rapidly from other travels you guys have had. Araval is like a stitched together quilt of biomes, and each one's proximity to the other doesn't make a whole lot of sense in terms of the way a natural world will fold out, but Rhea is not a natural world. The Ashen Expanse and its gray deserts eventually give way to arid grassland, which eventually starkly changes to, you know, a wooden forest underneath your damselfly, within the span of about 2.5 days, probably. By the time you get over the Forest of the Lost, it becomes readily apparent that you guys are not going to be able to land in it. You're going to have to make a slight detour off course in order to land the damselfly at any point. Which you'll have to do to, you know, empty chamber pots, hunt for a little bit of supplies, etc. For the most part, you can go straight there. Engines of the damselfly need to rest. If you're going like full throttle all the time. But eventually, as your 6th day of travel comes to an end, it's a long song. I can see that part. I'm going to turn that down. So, eventually, nestled amidst the trees at the edge of the Forest of the Lost, Oakham stands tall as a beacon of strength and faith. The city's towering stone walls providing a formidable defense against invaders. The walls are adorned with the scars of 1,000 battles, while sturdy watchtowers rise at strategic points, allowing guards to monitor the surrounding land. The heart of Oakham lies a magnificent church dedicated to Kavir, a monumental structure that serves both as a spiritual sanctuary and a symbol of the city's resilience. With its soaring spires that reach toward the heavens, the church is a testament to the skill of its builders and the devotion of its citizens. Stained glass windows shimmer in the sunlight, casting colorful patterns on the cobbled streets. A marketplace encircles the church, bustling with energy as merchants display their wares, from fragrant spices to finely crafted weapons. The scent of fresh-baked bread wafts through the air, inviting visitors to indulge in the city's culinary delights. Oakham is known for its skilled craftsmen, artisans, and its rigorously trained militia, it seems, ready to take up arms at a moment's notice in defense of their home. Oakham is a city that embodies the spirit of unity, faith, and fortitude, standing proud against the challenges of a tumultuous world. You would leave your damselfly in the care of Esmeralda in what stands for an airship field just outside the city's eastern gate. It's essentially a section of forest that has been cleared out, and is essentially a big dirt lot where airships are parked and where supplies are stored. Supplies are stored and loaded, and categorized, and all that. They don't really have an established, dockyard because they're not really on the coast. The city itself is about 20 miles inland from the coast of Arval. So they make do with what they've got. As you guys are approaching the city itself, you see these massive stone walls with, chunks and like battle scars, slashes across the bottom sections of it, pockmarked by weaponry and battle over the years that it's been established. You can see up top what looked to be the city guard patrolling the top of the walls and through the towers that are equidistantly spaced around the city, which is what you kind of saw as you were doing the flyover. And you see that each of these guards on closer inspection is dressed in guard attire, but fastened to their armor is like chitinous plating from some insectoid creature. You can see bits and pieces of insect's shell. Sometimes a pauldron, sometimes a greave, sometimes a helmet that has some kind of weird, plated, naturally occurring shell on it that's been affixed to a normal helmet.
How similar are these chitin pieces to the core spawn?
Not at all.
Ooh, are they?
The core
do
spawn
they have any?
The core spawn are there's chinks in the armor with core spawn, and they're darker in color generally, and usually have some form of weird pustulous arcanite growth.
I figured as much. Just had to ask, just because that's the only other notable insectoid I know of in this setting. So.
Well,
it's the difference between an ant exoskeleton and a beetle exoskeleton. These things are more beetle.
Could I make any kind of a nature roll to see if they resemble the scorpion creatures that we faced a while back?
Sure.
What are they called? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, trying to remember what they're called, but yes, Tlinkali.
TL is not a thing that.
Okay. Tlinkali. All right.
Doesn't happen very often.
Okay. Nature roll, and see what comes up.
There's certainly similarities, but not to the same size of Tlinkali. Tlinkali were large creatures.
Yeah, that's right. They were very big. So this would be
these pieces are more. These pieces are more small and compact.
Okay. I guess would I notice anything about the general types of people I'd see here? General, I guess, different races, or I don't know what would be. Is it mostly humans, or is there maybe something a bit unusual compared to other places I've been?
It is mostly human, this settlement, for sure.
Okay.
It's mostly human, some halfling and dwarf. Very rarely half elf. No full elf, as far as you can tell, but that's as far as you can tell. The distinguishing characteristic that you're picking up on as you're kind of people watching as you walk through the city gate is that everybody here is armed and armored at all times. There's not a single person you can see, with the exception of maybe a few individuals in the crowd, that is not some kind of warrior in appearance.
Okay, that is important to know, because that suggests that, well, maybe
everybody's strapped. Everybody's got a mace or a sword or something.
Yeah, and the ones who aren't obviously may have other means of defense.
Make a perception check.
Yep. Okay. And I would be, well, I'd be doing that with advantage because of the shield I'm holding. So,
Sure.
okay.
17. Yeah, as you kind of you're noticing these things like one thing after another. You're seeing that first of all everyone's a warrior, and then you realize that everyone's like there's a preference for bludgeoning weapons certainly in this area, to the point where you come across a small archery range as you're kind of like walking by a guardhouse. And you can see some of the city guard practicing archery out front, and when they're firing their arrows, you notice the tips are blunted; they're not pointed.
Huh.
Like there's a specific design that's been going on here. That's a specific thread that favors bludgeoning weapons over anything else for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to share that with the rest of the party. That's very unusual.
You expect me to use a weapon? How pedantic.
Well,
What's wrong with using weapons?
Yeah. By the way, I never answered Selra's question about the mace. You can't attune to it.
Oh.
You are not a cleric or a paladin.
Ah.
I may chip a nail if I tried to pick up those things. Good lord.
A question I feel I should ask, and it's something I will ask our sneaky boy to go check on. Bounty boards. Are we on them?
Yes. Hood is up. Hood is up. I am seeking for famous. Infamous.
Well,
excuse me.
Here's another thing I'll say. If you're going out to look for certain things, there's a significant presence of the Adventurers of Arabal here, which means that there's a guild house somewhere. So you're looking for that.
Ooh.
Roll me another perception check to see if you can spot the guild house as you kind of walk ahead of everybody.
Yep. Oop. Whoa.
Oh, yeah, easy enough. The guild house is
there.
It looks like it's been there for a while. Like you can see, like there's a significant amount of ivy that's been clawing its way up the walls for a long period of time. Their kind of grounds is one of the more prominent sections of the city where their guild house is. They have outdoor sparring. They have their own stables. They have a small chunk of land that's carved out specifically for them toward the center of the city. The guild house itself is this large stone building with a lot of craftsmanship has gone into it. Decorative where other buildings are not in this place. A lot of this place seems to be very practical. The Adventurers Guild is practical and also pretty for whatever intents and purposes. And outside of every Adventurers Guild that you've seen, there's a bounty board, and this place is no different. However, you're looking at a lot of escort jobs and not a lot of bounty hunting jobs.
That's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of I need X amount of people to protect my caravan in a week's time. Or I need three more crew for a skyship trek that I'm doing to the north or whatever.
I guess what I notice people around the guild house and sort of what kind of armament they have, is it roughly in keeping with the general populace, I guess, is most what I'm...
Yeah, the only difference is that they have the guild symbols emblazoned on tabards.
Lot of hammers, a lot of maces, staves, and bludgeony things.
Maces and mauls and flails.
Good to know. That really seems like something curious enough that I would probably try to seek out a seasoned-looking individual at Guildhall and ask them what's going on with the extremely high hammer to blade ratio in the city.
Okay, you're new, aren't you? Well,
Yep.
Oakham just happens to be on the edge of the territory of some very prickly bug people, and a lot of the weapons around here are used to repel attacks and skirmishes, either along the road or otherwise, focused on cracking carapace rather than piercing flesh. So you might want to pick yourself up a mace or some. I mean, looking at you, you seem like the sneaky type. You might want to pick up some blunt arrows from the blacksmith if you're going to go out into the forest or anywhere near it.
That does sound like a good spot to start. Yeah, I would probably be greatly interested in looking for that sort of thing for blunt ammunition. I think especially something, unless I'm misremembering things and how they work, is I'd probably be in the market for any especially powerful sorts of sling ammunition, just because slings are blunt, or the things they launch tend to be. So,
Sure.
and I
rock anywhere.
Yeah, but I was thinking something a little bit more magical, specifically. Well, I can type it in as far as what I'd be looking for, but
You probably have to get that from a magic item shop or something.
Yeah, that's probably what I'd be.
Because nobody using a sling when a crossbow or a bow is available.
No, I know, but that's kind of one of the reasons I would be specifically looking for, or maybe even asking around the guild house for any sort of magical armament shop or magic item shop, because there are a few specific things that I would be very much in the market for. So, yeah, that would probably be priority one after making sure that certain familiar faces are not plastered all over the bounty board. So, or the bounty section of the jobs board, at least. So, yep. Yeah, I would. Do I need to roll to ask somebody the location, or I don't know?
No. I'm sorry. I'm pulling up the towns. Shit. No, you would not be. You would not be directed to a shop, a magic item shop. There's no such shop here. There is an enchanter that has a business here.
Okay. Well, that would probably be a place to start then, at least. So.
Relatively new. Her name is Rosetta.
Okay.
She apparently
Is her last name Stone?
No, unfortunately. It's part of the reason why I chose that name, though, for reasons. She has a small business set up near the central marketplace, kind of across the street from the church. So if you wanted to inquire about having something made, you could go to her. She can enchant it for you for the price.
Yep, I would certainly do that, but realistically, before striding, right up next to her shop, I would be spending a second level spell slot to give myself borrowed knowledge on persuasion, because never hurts to have a strong negotiating position, and maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but it couldn't hurt. So I'll do that and speak with her on the main things I would be interested in looking for would be getting her to craft probably at least, if possible, 2 hats of disguise just because it may not be needed here, but may eventually be needed somewhere. So that seems like a couple of those would be extremely wise to have handy, even if there's a bit of time and cost to those. So I'd be interested in those pretty much above all else.
Well, like I said, she doesn't run a magic item shop. She runs a side enchanting business, so she doesn't have anything in stock when you go.
No.
Place.
No,
it's more like she has. It's more like you're going to her house. Essentially, is how this is going to work. I'd approach her about commissioning those. So, and maybe one other thing, just some special ammunition, but that's about it. Okay, so you've disappeared from the group and you're doing all this on your own. What is everyone else doing?
Oh yeah.
You guys are you waiting for him to come back, or are you taking the time to peruse?
I thought we were going to wait for him to come back because, we were trying to see if we were on a bounty board.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yep.
So you guys are twiddling your thumbs outside a bakery or something.
Just kind of keep a low profile and enjoying the smells of fresh. Enjoying the fresh bread smell.
Ezio sitting on a bench. All right, cool. So when you go up and you knock on her door, when you go up and knock on her door, it takes a little while for her to answer, but she opens it. You can see she's a halfling woman with like massively poofy, curly brown hair and big circular spectacles. She said, she opens the door and sees you and she says, "Hello. What can I do you for?"
Well, greetings. I was told to ask after Rosetta here, and I would be interested in commissioning some of your talents at crafting a few magical items of note.
Well, all right. Have you come for trade or for pay?
Well, as far as I know, time may be fairly sensitive, so I think pay might be a little bit faster than work in trade for the commission of item craft. So,
it depends on the items you want, but if time's of the essence, I don't know how much help I'm going to be for you. I mean, I'm only one woman, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I guess two things. Well, I'd be interested in getting a minimum of one hat of disguise, and if I can get two of them, that would probably be better. Just have a few friends who are trying to keep a decently low profile, and that's all useful for sort of subtle approach to things.
I don't really dabble in illusion magics as much.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'd have to do some research. I could probably do it. It would take me a while.
Okay. Well, there is something a little bit that might be a little bit more suited to your talents. I would assume perhaps if illusion is not your strong suit, that perhaps more things that are suited better to a fighting man or woman might be your strong suit. So, I would be interested in seeing if you might be able to craft a particular sort of ammunition. I do have a fairly nice sling I like using when things get difficult. Seems somewhat in keeping with the blunter weapons that are favored around here for various important reasons. But I don't know if you've ever heard of the crafting of what's called winged ammunition. It's nothing special, it just goes a little further than your usual sling bullets and such, and as you know, especially with slings, they're not the farthest things as far as reach out there, and any edge I can get on that might be a good way to keep myself from oh, I don't know, getting trampled by large spiny bug creatures, which apparently are local highlight that I would rather not tackle up close if possible.
Well, what is you using the sling for? Are you going hunting?
Always.
She kind of has this like worried look on her face. Make a persuasion check with disadvantage.
Okay.
Well, with knowing that we don't have to worry fucking for all the other hunters to go after our heads. I think it's time we set off and explore the forest to see what the fuck is going on and why we're here. Right?
I mean, we still don't know if our bounty board is posted or not because the guy we sent is currently going shopping.
Oh, he's not back yet.
He's
Got
not
it.
back
Never
yet. No,
mind.
he's talking to.
We're still twiddling our thumb then.
Yeah. That's why I asked you
He's
guys
being-
weren't doing anything while you're waiting, because I didn't want to go into the shop without you guys having some kind of thing to do.
Well, the problem
No.
is like we kind of can't because like we're waiting for a very specific reason.
He's being very thorough on his search, as far as you know.
She's like, do you guys ever make a fly for him? Like, I can.
Nah, he's
Yeah,
taking
definitely
his sweet
don't
time,
take
but at the same time, like I trust Chance will basically just say I trust Limestone to get back to be thorough and get back as soon as he can.
I mean, if you're asking to be thorough and make sure, then it's probably going to take him. You would assume it'd take him about an hour, which we're coming up on at this point.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, we'll be twiddling our thumb until then.
So
Because we really don't want to deal with the fucking bounty with how many people that's fucking armed here.
she looks at you and she says, I don't think I can help you, love. I don't think that I'm the one to do all that for you. You'd be better off visiting a blacksmith, to be honest, and maybe picking up a crossbow or something.
Not really much in the market for that, thanks all the same. Oh well. Have a good day. Nice meeting you. Farewell.
It's not you. It's just, I'm not a weapons
No.
enchanter, really. I'm a scholar. I studied at the academy over in Onyx, and I came here to study. Well, to study the thing that everybody hates. Really, it's the closest place to them.
Oh, actually, can I make another? Could I make another persuasion roll? Just, I've been to the academy. I'd love to find out who her favorite instructor was. This is fascinating.
You can just
A
ask
fellow
her.
student, a fellow graduate, no less. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was. I primarily studied under Professor Dryalis. I have a particular fascination for tribal peoples and their culture and stuff. So, like, when I heard that there was a number of tribal peoples already living on our Evol, I couldn't wait to graduate and go and do some research on them. This is my first foray out in the field, however, and I'm trying to fund it. All anyone seems to really care about around here is weaponry, though.
That's fair.
But
To be honest,
I mean, I heard about these, the tricrine, the things that everybody's been contending with. They seem rather fascinating, and I don't think they're as bad as everyone around here says they are. I think that they can be reasoned with. I just, I haven't gotten the opportunity yet. I'm kind of low on funding. I need to hire a couple of adventurers to protect me, clearly, if I'm going into the forest. So it's kind of why I've opened my business. But I don't want to hurt them, and I certainly don't want to contribute to the violence that's been going on around here, unless I really have to.
Could I make a nature roll to see if I? Sorry.
A commission such as yours, I mean, don't get it twisted. I think you're probably a nice guy. It's just, I don't want to enchant anything that's going to cause them to die.
Hmm.
I want to understand them. I don't want to eradicate them like other people do.
Could I make a nature roll to see if I know what Thrycreen are?
Sure.
Okay. Eh.
Not really. Not a clue.
I would probably.
There's not a whole
Yeah,
lot
I
that's
would
known
probably.
about. To be fair, there's not a whole lot that's known about them to begin with. You could probably get
Yeah.
information other than you could just ask her, or you can get information from other
Yeah.
people. But
Yeah,
you
I'd
yourself
probably.
would not know.
Yeah, I'd probably come clean on that and say, to be honest, I slept through a lot of lectures except for Professor Borovich's. The magics of getting from here to there in no time at all. I just find them fascinating. But
I was the
if you have
opposite. I
a little
always
bit,
called him Professor Boring.
well, everyone likes different things, certainly. But if you've got a little bit to share on them, they do sound interesting. In fact, I've met an unusual sort of native folk myself. I hesitate to break their trust, but let's just say I don't suppose the word tabaxi means anything to you?
Oh yes, certainly. I've not seen or talked to one, but I've heard of the cat folk of the Ashen Expanse. That's where I'd like to go after completing my research here. But this is, like I said, it's my first foray into my studies, as it were, and I haven't really got a whole lot to share. I know that they're insectoid beings. They have some sort of colony or something. They live in within the Forest of the Lost, and they seem to know how to get around. But you know, apart from that, we don't really know much about them other than they attack every now and then. And there are skirmishes along the road. They don't seem to particularly like anyone who's not them, for whatever reason.
I would caution you that if you were to travel the Ashen Expanse, many of the same things you have said of these insect folk can also be said of the cat people. So they may not be perhaps openly hostile, but they do not like outsiders. And just as a bit of a kindness, because I know I've got a few scimitars that I accumulated back when I was adventuring in the pyramid. I've still just got them sitting around. I will just give her one of them and say, I realize weapons aren't so much your thing, but this is of their manufacture. Perhaps it would provide some sort of useful insight on their way of doing things, should you ever decide to wander that way. And I don't see that it could necessarily be harmful, so I'll just give that to her and say
a magical
it may be
sword,
nothing.
or is that a standard one?
No, it's just a perfectly ordinary scimitar of tabaxi manufacture. That's all.
Yeah, so when you pull
I imagine
it out,
it's fairly old.
It doesn't
old.
resize to you like a magic weapon would. So it's basically holding a fucking great sword in your hands at this point.
Yeah.
So you like hand it over. She like almost
our...
falls over. She's just a little halfling girl, so she like almost falls. She like takes it. So, oh my god.
Well, same. Hey, same size as me. So normal.
He's like, oh my god, it's heavy.
All right.
And she says, well, I thank you.
Yep.
And she kind of like hefts it up onto like a desk nearby, and she like she says, hold on one second, and she like goes and grabs. She like opens one of the drawers and grabs a notebook out. And she flips a couple pages, and she says, would you mind writing your name down on this ledger here? I keep a list of people I'd like to talk to about certain things. If you're traveled, perhaps we can trade in information, or if you have anything, find anything of use for trade, or if you want to do any kind of research exchange, I'm happy to become a contact.
Okay, and I think that would certainly be fine, and I will write that down, and I will got her name as well, and I'll also reference back to her need for potentially some protection when going on an expedition. I will mention to her that I do move with some individuals who might be provide what you're looking for, but I would have to run any sort of offer of work by them first.
Well, I don't have a lot to pay you with, unfortunately. I mean, that's why I kind of opened the shop, because I'm trying to sell services to get enough money to hire seasoned adventurers.
I will, Rosetta, I'll let you in on a little secret. The group that I'm traveling with, in some ways, being scholars, very, very important to them. I would say in many ways, we value knowledge above all other things. And that's no lie. So I think perhaps they might be a good fit for what you need without, breaking your bank. In fact, they might be willing to go along just for the knowledge and discovery. But I mean, we're almost.
Really?
But
well, I mean, all right. Sure. If you're interested, I
certainly would be. But
underway.
I'll have to run it by them. So I can only promise my own interest, and I will be in touch if I can secure theirs as well. Fair enough?
All right. Well, please do. I'll be here.
Well, okay. Well, I thank you very much. And one more word, if you should eventually want to go to the Ashen Expanse, and I sort of show her the clothing that I'm currently wearing, you should go with clothing that has a cool weave to it. That place is a very easy place for the heat to take your life. Let's just say I came close.
Got it. And she's jotting down like everywhere. She's like catfolk, and heavy swords, and desert, and
dress smart. All right. Well, I'll be on my way, and it was a pleasure meeting you. So, thank you so much, and I may see about visiting a blacksmith, if you can point me to one within a reasonable distance. Actually, you know what? I should probably get back. I should probably get back to my friends. So, another time then, perhaps. A pleasure. Farewell, Rosetta.
Did you actually check a bounty board yet, or did I
did. I for sure did. And if it's not out of my way on the way back, I'll check it.
Hey, Leonard, you're back.
Yep. Hey.
So assuming he goes back and it fills you in the situation, there's no bounty has reached this place.
Yep. And also something else I will share is that if there is anybody particularly looking to pick up much in the way of magical items or such things, this is very much a town that is more suited to fighting people. So I nod at Selra and kind of say, there's probably going to be more here to make you happy, Valerian and Chance, than would necessarily be of great interest to either of you. That being said, and I share the information on the encounter I had with the enchanter, Rosetta, and say, I realize that we don't necessarily want to sidetrack very much, but it does sound like her goals and ours might not be totally at odds. If anyone would be interested in extending her some assistance in protection, okay. But I understand that we are also needing to be mindful of time. So I just thought I would mention that as an opportunity.
I feel like something worth pointing out is the fact that we have a crew that we need to pay now. So we do actually need to start paying closer attention to our finances than we were before.
That's fair.
So if there's a person offering work, that might be worth getting a look at.
Yeah, she did say that she was a very modest means, so if we're looking for something with a little bit more compensation rather than just the thrill of knowledge, I certainly understand that we have material needs now that we didn't have a while back.
Also, one thing I want to mention above game, I'm not even like. I think we're rapidly approaching a Ship of Theseus situation with the fact that we're still called the Scholars March.
Hey,
I mean, you're still mostly people who have gone to the academy. 3 out of 4 of you have gone to the academy.
yeah, and one of us knows what a very different plane of existence is like. That's knowledge.
Well,
Just
The
saying.
person has a single brain cell that's not dedicated to that.
Are you
Yeah,
sure?
well-
I don't think Chance counts in that number because Chance wasn't a student there. He only like.
You were a student at a different institution.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Your propensity is towards an intellectual field.
Fair enough. Okay.
So,
That's fair.
Don't try to hide your line under a bushel, you big history nerd.
you are an antiquarian by trade. So.
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
while
but-
etymology might not be your forte. Ancient ruins, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
I
now,
guess-
I'm still gonna walk with my hood up, but I am gonna make my
Ooh.
way towards that.
And before we head out, I would definitely share the information, the many blunt weapons and sort of what many people consider to be a major threat, and I'll ask the rest of the party if they've ever heard the word thri-kreen and what it means to them. So, if anybody has heard that term, apparently it's some sort of insect folk, but I don't know much more than that. So, anybody's got some insight on what those things might be, or good ways to avoid them, perhaps?
Unless they're secretly super ancient, I will have no way of knowing about them.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I would say the only one who would have an idea about these particular thri-kreen is Valerian, maybe, if he paid attention in lecture. So if Valerian wants to make a nature check, he certainly can.
Not with nature check, though. It's just. There's a reason why I've been keeping quiet. There's nothing I can contribute to. I'm sorry.
You can always roll the dice. You never know.
mm-hmm. Can he give himself guidance first?
Yeah, I'm going to. Is just waiting for the fucking.
What was that?
What's his die?
Magic, help me remember stuff.
Yeah, just take a magical shot of Adderall real quick. Figure out what's going on.
I think I was sleeping in the class for this one.
Mm.
No, you weren't.
Whoa.
Yeah, so thri-kreen, from what you remember, are they're humanoid-sized mantis people, essentially. They have 4 arms, 2 legs, and they carry they typically use primitive weaponry. There is a particular part of their about them that would draw interest to a magical scholar, and that is the psychic connection that they share with each other. They have some sort of hive mind that connects all of them, but on top of that, some of them have higher psychic function than others, and are able to channel low-level psionics through that power. It's very rare. They haven't seen a lot of those, but that is something that has been observed and has drawn the attention of people. But other than that, they're very secretive in terms of like not necessarily secretive. It's just that the territory they live in is hostile by nature, and then on top of that, they don't like people near them. You know, like any other colony of insects, if you invade their territory, they're going to freak out. Try and defend their home as much as they can. Which is the way, what you assume Oakham has done, is they've set up shop close enough to thri-kreen territory that they feel threatened. And in a hive mind, it's just constantly like, there's this thing, we got to take care of it, let's do it.
So that's why the relatively not very old walls look like they've been beaten up a lot all the time.
Well, you don't necessarily know how old the walls are, but you can see the scars from skirmishes that have come to the gates of Oakham several times over.
Okay, but presumably less than 100 years. But yeah.
The Araval was discovered by normal people like 50 years ago or something like that, like something around that time frame.
Okay, so that's the oldest the walls can possibly be.
Yeah. It's taken a while to get this many colonies set up on the land, and not a lot of them are fully established. But Oakham seems to be. You can assume. I mean, if you without prior knowledge of how Netria does its things, you can assume that Oakham is probably one of Netria's first colonies.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that Angel Bay is Onyx, one of Onyx's first colonies.
Okay. Well, I guess if Valerian has shared that, I'm just gonna kind of hang back unless anybody wants me to, into town to check things out further. I am also a little bit.
We just wanted you to go check if there's a fucking bounty on it.
Hey, I did that. I did one other thing. That's all. Didn't go try to visit a carnival or I don't know, a museum or even a blacksmith. I thought about it, but I didn't. So here I am. And on that note, I might be okay with going in to try to find of armament, but I'm probably okay on sling bullets. They've got some funny arrows in there, though. If there's anybody who considers themselves, well, they've got some weird ones. But yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily need much in the way of most of what they're selling. Although I'll, motion over to Selra again. Yeah, if you're looking for particularly powerful weaponry, there might be some options around. Don't know, but it seems like just about everyone is carrying something intended for battle.
I'm gonna get a big hammer.
I would say you could probably find that, but I'm not an expert in these things. I saw a few around, so somebody knows. So
I might not be able to read that well, but god damn it, I'm gonna get a hammer.
Well, nothing to stop you from getting a little one as a backup. Just putting that out there. Don't just get the big hammer.
You can still use the mace without being attuned to it, by the way.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yeah.
Kind of like I've got a nifty hand crossbow I'm not attuned to, but it's an option as long as I don't do anything special with it. It's pretty though, very shiny.
All right, so what do you want to do now?
Well, I think Chance was mentioning something about wanting to wander into town, but unless he's wanting somebody else to accompany him and watch his back, I'm okay with, maybe just finding a blacksmith that's not too far into the city from where we're docked or parked, I guess, and seeing about finding any sort of notable sling ammunition, but it's probably just the usual standard old, basically metal bullets or rocks kind of thing. Still, if they've got something that goes a little further than your average sling bullet, great. If they don't, not a big deal, but I'll probably look around for just that specific sort of thing. I mean, I hear they make ones that really pack a wall, that would be a bit much to hope for. So, yeah, I'll just go looking for that, and if I spot anything special, I'd definitely be in the market for it. Otherwise, I'd probably just look at various ordinary non-special sling bullets, and then just kind of wander back to the ship with a bit of a shrug and say, that's nice, but I guess we're really supposed to be looking for something a little bit less civilized anyway.
I would like to follow up with the enchanter lady, because if she wants to investigate something in the forest, that means she might know something.
Well, I will. Yeah, I guess if he's wanting me to go along with and make the introduction, I mean, to be fair, she likes nature and you like very old things, so there might be some overlap there. Sometimes nature is old. So, yeah, I'll be more than happy to accompany along, kind of show them the way to get there to her house, and let them have a chat. Maybe they can exchange some knowledge as well. So, nothing wrong with learning new things.
Okay. So we got one for blacksmith, one for enchanter. Anyone else?
I would figure Selra would probably want to check out. Yeah.
Does one of you want to try and ask around and see if anyone knows about the place you're looking for?
Oh.
Because you don't know where this church is.
That's a very good point. If only there was...
The church in the center of town is a church to Kavir. Kavir is the goddess of civilization, not the goddess of drifters. That was Amarat. You're looking for the temple of Amarat.
If only there was someone divinely inclined. Oh well. Oh well.
We'll start with the blacksmith, because that one's easy.
Yeah.
The blacksmith is less set up as a shop and more set up as a quartermaster. You can see that there's at the front of his store, he still sells stuff. At the front of his store, he has essentially two lines. He has a line for militia people and a line for customers, and both are currently empty, unstaffed. You can hear the ringing of hammer from inside the shop, and you see inside as you enter there is a middle-aged kind of dwarf with big old dark mutton chops and a handlebar mustache, completely shaved, bald, with a number of very prominent scarring, across arms, face, and he's supposed to you can see he has some kind of scar nearby. And you can also see that he's missing his leg. His left leg is severed at the knee. So he kind of he appears to be standing on some form of prosthetic that he's fashioned to himself as he kind of limps around the shop doing his work. You can see that he's currently in the middle of working on a batch of those arrowheads. He's hammering them into shape. What is essentially an arrowhead that is a big square block on the end of the arrow, or what will eventually be tipped on the end of the arrow. That he's kind of hammering a pattern into that's similar to a meat tenderizer. When you go up and ask, what he has for sale, easy enough to see. He'll take a break and kind of give you the rundown. A lot of the bludgeoning types of weapons are popular, though they don't necessarily have any greater effect than any other weapon on Thri-Kreen. It's just that people seem to think they do. So he ends up crafting a lot of those. If you want something that is actually good at taking out Thri-Kreen, then that's you can talk. But that's a special commissioned item. Depending on how crazy you want to get, you'd be looking at some. He mentions that he knows Dwarven runecraft enough to make basic magic items for a price.
Can you make a +1 maul?
Yeah. Anything of the uncommon variety in terms of weaponry, he can make.
Okay.
I like to ask if I like to see if you can buy a +1 maul or commission one.
I think that's probably easily done. Let's see, how much is a maul?
10 gold
Maul's 10.
normally.
So for an uncommon maul, you'd be looking at 510.
Okay. Should slowly count that out.
For the the special blunt-tipped arrows, those, if you want to buy them, will give you a non-magical +1 to hit against Thri-Kreen specifically.
I don't know that I'd necessarily be looking to start a war with them. It doesn't sound like they're. I mean, it sounds like this conflict here may not have been. I don't know. I don't know enough about them to necessarily want to hunt every last one of them down. I'm if I'm hunting anything, it's Knights of the Black Circle. And last I checked, Thri-Kreen weren't them.
Yeah, that's a lot I want to do.
Yeah, one thing I may be uncommon weapons I might be keen on commissioning. So
Sure. Yeah, if
But-
you're looking for
but
wind
just
ammunition,
as-
this is the guy to get it from.
yeah, but just as sling bullets, nothing too fancy with that. So, yeah.
It would be 100 gold for a set of 20.
Okay. In that case, to be on the safe side, I will. If he's okay with it, I will pay 300 for 60. So, if that works for him, I think I'll just go with that, and that way it lets a sling hit a little further away than it would ordinarily, and I think that might be a bit of an asset. So,
So one of the things that
I ain't gonna worry
one of the
too
things
much.
that he'll mention, because I mean, looking at you, he can tell that you're not from here. That you're perhaps a new adventurer in Oakham. Is that he a lot of his work he does for trade, and the trade is specifically the heads of Thri-Kreen. So if you end up killing stuff, take its head, and he can make some stuff. He can discount items for you, or he can trade it for lesser crafts than he has. This is someone who clearly doesn't like them very much, and any mention of it, he spits on the floor.
Damn.
And he has a collection of heads mounted on his wall. You can see. He's like, I take those as commission. If you want to fucking discount your stuff, go hunt some dry green and kill him for me.
Good to know. Wow. Okay. You know what? I guess just while I'm here buying things, yeah, I'll see if he's got if he can make maybe a set of walloping ammunition as well. So I think that's been
sure.
Yeah.
Spend your gold. I'll trust you to do it. I'm going to move on. The last. We've got 4 minutes here. I'll paraphrase a conversation Chance has with Enchanter Lady.
I know.
So, what are you going over there to talk to her about specifically?
Well, I'd ask if she is. I would first ask.
If it's okay with Chance, I'm just going to be following him because I have nothing else to do in the town.
That works. I was going to ask if she intends to do an expedition into the forest. Where does she have anywhere particularly in mind already, or is this an exploratory expedition to just go out and see what you can find out there?
The purpose of her research, as far as she tells you, is to explore the Forest of the Lost and see if she can locate the nest, the Thrycrean's hive, essentially. She wants to try and establish communication between her and them in order to learn more about them. And in order to do that, she wants to see if she can find like where they come from. That's difficult because the Forest of the Lost is notorious for shifting on travelers. Most of the people avoid it when they travel through Arval, if they can. The major roads that run between towns are mostly along the coast, from the Forest of the Lost up to the north. There's not really a trail blazed into the forest that hasn't been reclaimed by nature or not used. Very, very few people travel within the Forest of the Lost because it's a liability to do so. Some people do. Some people are interested in preserving time. Or some people, like her, are interested in exploring the Forest of the Lost for whatever reason. But for the majority of people that are traveling around this area, they try to avoid it completely. Because you're more likely to lose yourself, and hence the name. Hers is an exploratory thing. She wants to go in there. She wants to establish a line of communication and learn more about the Thrycrean specifically. She's writing a paper, a dissertation on the different peoples of Arval, the different native peoples of Arval, and their whatever culture she can find out about them. But obviously she's not dumb. She knows the Forest of the Lost is dangerous, and she knows that her abilities alone are not enough to protect her. So she needs, big burly adventurers to be able to protect her from danger while she's doing her exploratory thing.
Now, Chance would ask what exactly. Now, because Chance was like, I already know you've already made clear to my colleague that you're not exactly a woman of means. So I would ask, what do you have to offer such an expedition?
That's just it. She doesn't have anything yet. The only thing that she's able to do is enchanting. That's her one thing that she's been able to make money, sustain herself doing here specifically in Oakham, because the only other guy that can do any kind of magic thing is the blacksmith in terms of enchanting. The church technically could. The Church of Kavir has clerics that can perform magical rituals and stuff, but they don't typically tend to do that. they're more focused on keeping the city standing, maintaining the walls and all that. She offers like the only other enchanting service, so people come to her often for different things. She's particularly adept at creating items that allow for communication and items that keep you from being lost. So like seeker's compasses and stuff like that. That's the main source of her income is making little magic items that are fairly affordable for merchants to buy that will, that are of interest that will help them on their business.
What does she have in regards to communication devices?
Helm of Comprehending Languages is one. She can also scribe scrolls of comprehend languages and tongues. She knows intaglio and different things like that. Things that allow for the translation of language.
I would like to offer her a deal. Well, first I'd like to ask, knowing what I know about scholarly expeditions and scholarly pursuits, what would be a reasonable charge that what would be a reasonable amount that an adventurer party could charge for the risk of this type of thing?
Let me pull up the thing here. I have a section on the adventurers that gives me the downtime activity. So this would be, it depends on what exactly you're doing. If it's escort job, that's considered probably a low rank job. But if it's an escort job into the Forest of the Lost for any period of time, probably a journeyman or experienced rank person is what you would want. So with that in mind, let's see. Where's the pay in this thing? Oh, there it is. Okay. With that, you're looking at upwards of 100 gold per person, generally speaking, or maybe a little bit more of that for split amongst the members of the group that you're with. If you're going deep, you'd want some veterans, so that would be closer to 250. She wants to go deep. No pun intended.
Giggity.
Yeah, giggity.
I was about to say, given her size, I don't really know how deep that would be.
She wants to like, she doesn't just want to like go a few miles in. She wants to delve. She's looking for wherever their hive is, and that requires a little bit of time spent in the forest, which is the dangerous part. So she'd be looking for veterans, people that are at least somewhat comfortable surviving in an ever-changing forest that does weird shit and has a bunch of monsters in it.
All right. So the deal that Chance would offer would be that in return for us escorting her, we would like her assistance as given how her communication and her ability to translate will be invaluable in that particular temple we were looking for. So I would chance that we have our own goal to find in the forest, and having someone who could translate ancient texts, ancient inscriptions would be invaluable. So in return for us helping her with her expedition, she helps us with ours.
Okay. she would probably ask to meet with the rest of your party to suss you out, because it's her life that she's putting in your hands, and she doesn't want to go with less than what she needs. And so far, she's seen you and Lemuel. That's it.
Well, and Valerian, because Valerian went with me.
Oh, and yes, because Valerian's here. Yeah, so she's seen the three of you. I mean, you only have one more person. I think I'll say roll a persuasion check with advantage.
I'm happy about that. May I ask what the advantage is for?
This is her own assessment of what you got. You guys are decked out in a shit ton of magic gear, so she's maybe more inclined to believe you that you can protect her. Yeah, with a 22.
That's a 22.
Yeah, she's like, I mean, given that that she's seen you guys all as a group, that you guys are decked out in a bunch of like fairly high level magic shit for the area, and the fact that you have a fourth person with you that's presumably the same way, she's feeling comfortable, especially given the fact that if you guys are this fucking iced out, and you're offering a trade instead of her having to pay you for this service, she's fine with that.
But Chance would give a fair warning that just as her expedition is liable dangerous, so is ours. Okay.
I mean, yeah, there's inherent danger in the forest. She is not a fighter. She can try and the 18. I don't know what you're doing. She's not a fighter. If a fight breaks out, she's gonna dip. Like she's gonna go invisible and hide.
Yeah, no, that's entirely fair. We mainly just need her for the sake of the logistics, and the like.
Yeah, that's fine. She'll bring she'll bring a mage stat block with her. Essentially, is what you're paying for, what you're trading for.
Yeah, like the fact that she knows tongues, has access to comprehend languages, like those two alone, massive. Because that frees up space, that frees up spells for Limestone to devote towards something more aimed at keeping us alive.
Alrighty, cool. So, with that deal struck, the only thing that you guys have to do now is figure out where the fuck you're going. We can get to that next time on Dragon Ball Z. Next time on Shattered Earth. We'll go ahead and end the session there, and then you guys just have to ask around to figure out where the old temple lies. And then you can go out into the Forest of the Lost. Until then, we will see you guys next time. This was a lot of talking, a lot of lore, a lot of learning going on in this episode.
Yay, knowledge!
Wow, it's almost like the name of our group.
Yeah, somebody play the Reading Rainbow.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. So we'll go ahead and do that next time we play. Quick reminder: I do not do holidays.
Right.
Which means that the 25th of November is the last potential time we're playing this year. I don't do December.
Oh.
We're not doing December at all.
Cool.
So after the 25th, we're gonna be on break until January.
In that case, this was the last session for the year, because that I am fucking solid booked
For next week and the week after? For the 18th and the 25th?
I got to go to Catalina Island for the 17th to the 19th. Then I got another gig that's from 24th to 27th. I got to go to fucking Fashion Island.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Wow.
Then this is the last session of the
Yeah.
game. So then we will we'll convene next year on January the 6th on my birthday. Ironically enough.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! We get to make your life miserable.
I know, yeah.
Woo!
I'd see if I can remember how to play this game after a month off, but that's just how
This-
it goes.
this
with holidays.
This reference is going to make no sense, but I am totally going to type it out of character. At some point, I am totally going to shop for enough paint to paint most of the ship black with one really big red stripe. Jay knows what I'm talking about. Jay knows what I'm talking about.
We're not a fucking orc. We're not orcs.
I thought he was making reference to the fucking Yan Mega line for Pokemon.
I
No.
went with the Normandy, so I don't think anyone knows what you're talking about.
Oh, you
I think,
more
yeah,
Taka.
Oh, that. Okay.
there's that, and also,
Doesn't really fit
yeah.
that orc thing for me.
All right, we're ending the
there's a-
session.
there's a
Goodbye,
very-
everybody. Have a good one.